There is well-balanced instruction, and then there's well-balanced instructing. Well-balanced instruction means when you're teaching a class, you're teaching a student, you have a warm-up that's appropriate for that class and appropriate for that student. You warm them up, you don't wear them out. You warm them up. Then you do drills that are appropriate for that class and appropriate for the student. You don't do things that are too complicated, too fast, too hard. You know, the cadence has to be a decent pace, not too slow, not too fast. If you do it with timing, you don't spend too much time in a particular drill. Then you do the right corrections, and then you do the lesson. Teaching the form, you're drilling the form and drilling the form properly, not too fast, not too slow, not too boring. Keep it a nice pace. Make sure the students are learning, they're getting the right technique, the right understanding, and be able to memorize the movements. And then if you're doing techniques, the same thing, not too rough, not too hard, not too easy, not too wimpy. You have to know how to teach the techniques properly so that once they learn the technique, then it can be pressure tested. We don't pressure test a student when they're learning a basic technique. Meaning what? We don't we grab someone and say, okay, now do your technique and then try to hold as tight as we can when they're just learning the technique. No, they have to learn the technique. They have to practice the technique. They have to develop a deeper understanding of the technique and develop a little bit more skill with the technique, and then get some power in the technique, and then you can begin to pressure test it gently. That is a slow process through time. Each student is different. So if you pressure test a technique too soon, the student develops all the wrong habits. And when they have all the wrong habits, later on they can't train properly. They can't train with a partner safely, and they can't apply it in the street in real life. So there's a process to pressure testing the technique. But now, well-balanced instruction means that your class or the training is well-balanced. But I want you to think about this. Well-balanced instructing, which means this. If you're teaching 4 classes a week, you have 4 opportunities to develop your skill. You have, if it's a live class, you have live bodies. You have multiple opportunities to work on a variety of techniques and skills, which is great. If you're only teaching 1 class a week, then you only have that 1 class where you have the opportunity to work on your skill and your techniques. Which means what? Every class should be well balanced, meaning this. You are teaching and giving the students what they need, but you are also maintaining and getting what you need. So when the students are working on choke defense, you're working on choke defense. When the students are working on a certain type of kicking, you're working on a certain type of kicking. When the students are working on a form, you're working on a form. Even though you're drilling the form, you're drilling the form with them, right? So when you're drilling the form, right, you're drilling also. Why? To increase your skill level and also to deepen your understanding. If you are teaching in a way where all your effort and all your energy is going into this particular student or this class, multiple students, and you're pushing it and you're counting and you're correcting, you're doing everything for them. And let's say the class is 45 minutes, let's say it's an hour, hour and 15, even an hour and a half. You spent all this time and energy putting your heart and soul, your mind, everything into them. After the time has passed, what did you get for you? And some may think, but I want to help the student. You know, they needed more of my attention. But guess what? If the instructor is not improving, there comes a point in time when that student will not need that instructor. Because why? That instructor has become obsolete. Their skills have been going down. Doesn't happen overnight, it happens through time. But eventually, that instructor is not the same, doesn't have the same value to the student. They need another instructor that can bring it to them and take it to another level. So, time passes no matter what. But I've seen too many instructors where they put everything into the student. And eventually, the student becomes the better instructor actually than the instructor. And that happens pretty often. So the formula is this, it's real simple. Listen to what your master is telling you. Listen to what the master is teaching you, and then take the right actions and do exactly as you've been instructed. Because 5 years will pass no matter what. You cannot stop time. But the power you do have is what you accomplish within that time. 10 years will pass no matter what. It will pass. The question is this: what will you have accomplished in 10 years? Will your body be healthier or unhealthier? Will you have higher skill or lower skill? Will you have a deeper understanding or not much greater understanding? Will you have a broad base to teach from or very narrow? The question is, which do you want also? So if you want to be an excellent instructor, you must always be improving. So every time you're teaching, that is the best time to improve. It's the yin and the yang. You teach the student, you give the student something, but the students in return give you something. So it's a reciprocal system. Everything you do, if you do it right, everything you give comes back in another way and builds who you are, and what you have. Otherwise, it's the other path, the path that spirals downward, which means this. You get up one day, it's like, oh, my hip. Get up one day and you step the wrong way. Oh, my knee, my ankle, my hamstring. And when that happens, there's one huge strike against you. Then it's even harder to train. And then something else happens. Then you get 2 strikes against you. Then it's even harder to train. And usually what happens, by the way, the other muscles are going to get affected because you're not as mobile. Many times instructors gain weight because they're not as mobile because they have injuries. So you have to have a holistic approach and a whole life approach. Whatever age you are, 5 years from now, you will be 5 years older. Whatever age you are now, 10 years from now, you will be 10 years older. Whatever age you are now, 20 years from now, you will be 20 years older. The question is this: that 20 years passes, will be chronologically 20 years older. But physiologically, how old would you be? 2 years older? 5 years older? You have a choice. But the choice must be made today. It's your todays that plant the seeds for your harvest of tomorrows. So do everything right and do everything right now to prepare your body and prepare your life for the future. Do the right exercises. Train your legs, ligaments to have the right alignment with everything you do. So you do not get injured stepping off your couch or out of your bed. That's what ordinary people do. People who don't train. That's how they spiral down. They have no choice. They don't have this knowledge. They don't have these opportunities. They don't have this advantage, but you do. So we have to move away from the ordinary. You have to be extraordinary, which means what? You gotta do a little extra than the ordinary people. And if you have it within you, you do a lot extra than ordinary people do. And that's how you become and stay extraordinary.